Hi, y'all. This is Kanika. If you don't know me, well, welcome to my channel. I currently live in Baltimore, and I'm a first-time home buyer. Woo woo. I'm also a mommy of a almost 3-year-old little boy. And I'm a forensic scientist, y'all. So let's get into this. So I was dying to tell my testimony. I've been connected in with a church called Union, and I'm so grateful for that family that I have, made in that church. And I just felt compelled to share my story. For one, because I was walking in shame for the longest time, until God really matured my heart and was like, no, you need to share this. Because there was a time where I was just like, I don't know if I'm courageous enough, or if I have it in me to share it. So that was a phase. However, leading up to this moment, there's been a lot of sharing my story, and I've gotten more confident in doing so. And I'm no longer walking in shame. God took that out of me, y'all. And now it's time to reflect on how God has brought my life a full 180 degrees, because it does not look like what it used to almost 3 years ago. So we're gonna hop into this testimony, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So I'm gonna start back to 2022, because that's when my life took a whole turn, when I had my son. So I was in a relationship. We didn't really know each other that well, but we knew of each other. We were dating, we were having fun, blah, 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 taking vacations, everything like that. Everything was fine. I ended up moving in a couple days before I found out that I was pregnant. So that was I was surprised for sure. And so that was 2021, October 2021. And then fast forward to when my son was born, which was June 2022. The relationship was getting rocky. It was getting rocky. There was a lot of stuff, y'all know. My single moms out there, y'all know. So fast forward, 2 months after that, he actually was just like, you know what? You gotta get your stuff. You gotta go. You gotta get out. So I was like, okay, cool. I was heartbroken, y'all. I'm not even gonna lie. It's just something about just having a baby. You're thinking okay, we can work through anything. This is a family that I chose. I chose you to have a partner or to have a kid with, and I chose you, on many different aspects. And to have that broken, or have someone be like, you know what, I'm throwing the towel in, that's it. It's a traumatic experience. And for those who know, you guys know, it's very traumatic going through that. But nothing that the Lord can't fix, though, right? So 2 months after that, it was August. So that was the worst month of my life. So family broke apart. He basically said, you have to get your stuff, you gotta go. And then, y'all, keep in mind, I was still on maternity leave when this was happening. So I was still on maternity leave. I was low-key panicking, because I'm like, I don't have anywhere to go. My baby is 2 months old. This is crazy. And then I actually went back to work early. So I went back to work about 3 weeks early, or maybe 2 weeks early. I had to get the money for the first month's rent, last month's rent. That is your security deposit. Whatever. I had to put down a lot of money, is basically what I'm trying to say. And so I had no money. I was on maternity leave, not paid. Cashed in what I cashed in for sick time, vacation time, whatever. And so at the moment, I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? So we agreed that my parents would, watch my baby while I look for an apartment. So I'm looking for an apartment. I had to go back to work. I'm grinding. I had to relearn my job, y'all, in a matter of days, readjust really fast so I could, get back signed off I was a crime scene tech at the time. And what happened? just so I could pick up overtime, just so I could pay for what I had to pay for to get myself back together again, all while being a mom, breastfeeding. And I did really well with that because I ended up breastfeeding for almost 2.5 years, or 2 years and like 3 months or so. So I did keep up with that. So yeah, so that was August 2022. Literally, I don't wish that on anybody. Like that, it was literally the most traumatic thing I could go through. But I ended up finding a townhouse, a 2-bedroom townhouse. It was in my budget, and this is around the time where like rent was skyrocketing, like the economy was going nuts, y'all. It was so crazy. And so yeah, so I did that, and then my parents were just like, "Hey, why don't you look into the Habitat program?" So I'm just like, okay. I've been seeing it on my timeline, and I don't know if I qualify, but they were like, "Oh, you never know until you try, you know? The worst thing they can do is say no." So I was like, "Okay, I'll research it." So I went on my computer, researched it, found that I did qualify for it. So I submitted my application. I got in contact with Habitat of the Chesapeake. Shout out to you guys. And at this point, I'm still mentally going through it because that whole period was just rough on me, mentally, physically, and spiritually. But God was telling me throughout that mist, like, keep your head down. Like, and the townhouse wasn't that, it wasn't all that. Like, it was, I found out it was in the hood, and I didn't know that before I moved in, even though I did ride by at night. I rode by during the day, I rode by in the morning. But, like, y'all, it was the hood, but it's all that I could, afford at the time. So I was just like, look, God was like, it's only temporary. You're not going to be here forever, but this is a place where you and your son are safe in, and this is where y'all can, you have a home, you have shelter, you have lights, you have everything that you would need in this home, and this is only temporary because I have something over here. I have a property with your name on it. You just don't know yet. And like, y'all, when I tell you, like, in August when I was going through all this stuff, it's like I couldn't see anything. I'm like, why is this happening to me? Why is, like, out of all the people in the world, like, why me? Why is my family falling apart? Why this? And bawling my eyes out, and I'm just like, how am I gonna get a house? Like, blah blah blah. But Habitat actually blessed me, and it was so crazy because the time, like, I look back and I'm like, the time frame is just so nuts to me because any while longer, like, he did what he had to do at the right time because they were actually recruiting for the home I am currently in now. And the deadline, I would have missed the deadline. I think I turned in my application about like a couple days before the deadline. So any while longer, the deadline for these houses I am currently in, y'all, that I currently purchased, would have been gone. And whew, it's just amazing how this worked out. Yeah, I had no idea. And come to find out, I actually did qualify for the program, and they were recruiting for this section of Baltimore. And by then it was just, a flat piece of land, but they started groundbreaking and everything. It was brand new townhomes that they put here. So, oh my goodness, it's just miraculous to think about. But yeah, even in those storms where, you can't see and it's just like chaos, you only see like things breaking apart, nothing's adding up. That's when God is like really shifting something in your life. Like, he is working overtime. And that's what I couldn't see at this. I could not see, like, physically, I could not, or mentally, spiritually, I could not see further than what the situation that I was currently in. So just you have to keep the faith in those times where you can't see. You just have to push through. You have to keep your chin down. You got to push through because there's something on the other side, I'm telling you, that God has in store for you. And for me, that was this house. So get back on track. Let me get back on track. So went to, back to work early. That's when I got served with some custody papers. So at the time, it was just like attack after attack after attack. I felt like I couldn't, like, every time I try to like get up, it was something like weighing me back down. And then every time I would make it to the surface, it was like something else was coming down on me. So I was like, you mean to tell me I have to say, like, I went back to work early, did my overtime, paid all this money to move in. Now you're telling me I have to get a lawyer as well, which is like way out of my budget. Like, how am I going to do this? Whew. Goodness. So I was going through that. And then 1 month later, so that was in November or October, November, whatever. And then in December, I actually got my official acceptance letter via Habitat. So they officially accepted me into the program. They were like, hey, we're going to ground break in 2023. So that whole thing it's mentally exhausting. And for the ones that have been through it, it is the most exhausting thing, because not only are you like emotionally broken, but you also have to go through this whole legal system, like literally to fight for your child, essentially. And so, yeah, so I went through all of that. And then 2023 came, they actually got a promotion. So I had, and during the midst of all that I just told you, a position came available for forensic scientists. So I went ahead and applied out of faith. I was like, look, I need something that fits like my schedule as a mom now, because I am a mom. I can't do nights anymore. I have to do, something that fits in the daytime, just because that's when daycare is available. Not too many people watch children or infants during the nights. So that was, something that could provide me with a consistent yet daily work schedule. So went ahead and applied for that. I ended up getting the position in May of 2023. So that's what happened that year. And I actually had my custody hearing end of that year, which ultimately got postponed to 2024. So I was dealing with this thing for about a good year and some change. But when I tell you, that's when I ultimately gave my life to Christ during that period. So that period between me getting a promotion at work and then the custody hearing in 2024. Through that season, so May, June, July, August, September, October, November, I actually started watching a pastor online. His name is Richard Lorenzo Jr. In Florida. So actually, that's what introduced me again to Christ. Growing up, I never really had a relationship, but I did have faith. It was crazy because I didn't grow up in the church, but like my mom grew up in the church. My dad didn't really go to church at all. And so like I would pray and stuff like that. I believed in Jesus, but I didn't really have like an interpersonal relationship with him until, I feel like I've had one since like high school, to really dive in on a personal like level and get to know God for who he is. That didn't start until 2023, end of 2023. So after going through the most traumatic thing I've ever went through basically in my life, my heart hardened a little bit from that. There was a phase in my life where I really couldn't look at any guys. I was disgusted, honestly. I was like, Dad, I don't think I'm ever gonna get married, because I look at a guy and it actually disgusts me. But he's like, oh, that's a phase, like that'll change, that'll, you'll grow out of that and stuff like that. But I'm just like, now, like someone that just done absolute, like to go through that type of situation, and not saying that I was perfect, I did some wrong things too. However, going through that, and then like trying to date again, I was just like, I don't think my heart can't handle that at this time, because like I was literally looking through the lens of like my traumatic experience. I worked on my relationship with Jesus, actually. Started to get to know him more, diving into the word, listening to all the testimonies that everybody, put on YouTube and stuff like that. And I actually began to, like, my heart started to change in the midst of that. Like, I went through, like, breaking generational curses off of me, because I felt like that also contributed to everything. Like how I was as a person. God actually shifted, like, touched my heart in that era, like the dating scene, and he fixed the lens that I was looking at of, and gave me my desire for love and desire to be married and a desire to date again. And that was a whole phase, but I had to, like, build that relationship with him first, and then he, started to change that. And I didn't really notice until I'm just like, okay, I think I'm ready to date again. And it was, like, so crazy, because I'm like, wow, like, months ago I was saying that I can't even picture myself, like, I can't even look at a guy, like, it's so crazy. But yeah, so he actually came in, touched my heart in that aspect. I started, like I said, breaking generational curses off, demons off, like going through a whole deliverance, like all of that. It was like, this time it was insane. And then also I had to get another job at the end of 2023 to pay for the lawyer expenses, because her bill was just, like, outrageous. I was doing all of this. Like, I had to volunteer for Habitat for my program to get my home. So we have to do 250 sweat equity hours. So I was doing that on top of, like, working my regular job, on top of going to my part-time job. And 100% of my paychecks from a part-time job actually went to, like, directly to my lawyer to pay for that. At the same time, like, diving into my relationship with the Lord. And I specifically remember, like, it was like, maybe I had like 6 weeks to my due date for the trial. All the money had to be in there. I just remember having, like, maybe $30 in my bank account, and Richard Lorenzo Jr. did this whole sermon. And then we got to the tithing part, and he's like, you need to be cheerful in your giving, and you have to have that faith of a mustard seed, and that God will bless you in return. So I looked at my bank account, and I looked at him. I looked at my bank account. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Sent my last little bit, y'all, in my bank account to his church, and God moved in a miraculous way. I didn't even know how this happened, but that money did end up coming to me for the trial. And you just literally have to have faith of a mustard seed, because when you do give on to the church, like, he will make things shift in the, like, around you, within you, like, everything. And he will make it away, and he'll do it, y'all. He will do it. But long story short, everything worked into my favor. And that was nothing but God. So fast forward to June of 2024, I actually got to move into this house. I got to move into my townhouse. Shout out to Habitat and all of their volunteers. I actually got to work on my own house as well as my neighbors. And every day, y'all, I wake up, I'm reminded I'm in a answered prayer. Like, this was a prayer at one time, and I had no idea how I was gonna attain it. I was like, Lord, like, the economy is shifting. Everything is too expensive. Like, I don't really make enough. They want me to have a spouse in order to go forward the traditional way. Like, I don't know how this is gonna turn out, but y'all, he hears our prayers, and he answers, and he delivers, and he is faithful in his word. All you have to do is keep whatever is written in that Bible in your mind, because that is what it is. Like, when he speaks, that's what it is. There's no question. When I moved in here, so I actually made a vow to myself. I was like, when I move into my home, I am going to find a home church. So I ended up finding a home church. I kept hearing union. And I'm like, I feel like everybody go to Union, but kept hearing it. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna check it out soon. But I always kept putting it on the back burner. I'm like, yeah, I'll check it out. So I was down. I actually visited my brother. He goes to Lift Church in Salisbury, and I was there one Sunday visiting, and the pastor that was speaking that Sunday, he actually referred me to you. It was like, there's a church just like ours. They're called Union. I think you should check it out. So I was just like, okay, this has to be a confirmation. Like, I keep hearing that, and this pastor just confirmed that I need to go to Union. So I was like, okay, Lord, yes. So actually, September 8th, 2024, that was Welcome Home Sunday. That was my very first time at the BWI location. So, and that day, it literally changed my life, y'all. I was in church. I felt the Holy Spirit. From there, like, things just started, like, he was tugging on my heart. Like, in those songs, like, I was bawling my eyes out, y'all. Like, he has done, and then thinking back to what I've grown from, I was just like, wow. Like, it's one thing to be living in there for so long, and then once God gets you out of that situation, got me out of the hood, got me into a safe home, got me into a new position at work, like, and then I was connecting with people within the Habitat program, and they opened some door. Like, it was crazy how everything was just working out like a puzzle. Like, God was just taking the pieces and just like putting them back together. Like, that is literally how my life was during this time. This is where I came. Like, I have a whole testimony to share. But yeah, so I knew God work just wasn't done. So I was just like, okay, Lord, you blessed me with literally everything. Yeah, brand new house. It's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a basement, parking, a yard, like everything that we can possibly imagine is here. Go check out the Habitat for Humanity website, because they have literally blessed my life. I will always be an advocate for the Habitat program, and the staff members they want to help you. So if you are a first-time home buyer, don't know where to turn, check out the Habitat program. There's one section of my life, and I already knew he knew. I'm like, God, I need a spouse. I was just like, can you bless me? But I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready when I was asking for it. So 2024, there was still some growing, and I kept hearing this scripture, but seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Matthew 6:33. So I was like, okay, so I need to tune into this church, and I need to seek him, continue to seek him, and everything else will follow. So I ended up getting connected into a women's group there. And the leader is actually like one of my close friends. I would say close friends. We built an awesome friendship, and we're still building it. And man, that has changed my life, because it was a women's group, and we were focused, because at first I was going to join a dating group, but I was like, I don't think God's calling me to join a dating group right now. I think he just wants me to focus on him, get to learn the Bible, and tune in with him and seek him for all who he is. And so I did that. Connected with a bunch of women. We were talking about the Bible. We would read 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians. That's what we were in that season. And we were just like building ourselves, like preparing ourselves to be wives, doing the work, so that when God do bring someone in to our life, we are fully ready. Like, we're ready, we're healed, and we're thriving. So that was the season that I was in when I first came to Union. And it was so great. I basically was going to church every Sunday, and this is the time I actually picked up my part-time job again. It was a seasonal position, so I ended up picking up that again, and I was able to manage both. As soon as I started going to Union, and I heard they had Catalyst every last Friday, I don't think I've missed a Catalyst yet, and if I have, I was probably like working or something. But y'all. New Year's Eve, Catalyst, I was sitting in Columbia, at the Columbia campus. It was raining that day too. And I was in the last row, literally the last row. And I was at Catalyst and they were like, oh, singles night is coming up, y'all. Get your tickets, blah, 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 So I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. I grabbed my phone in the middle, like the whole thing. They're like, oh, singles night. I brought up singles night, bought me a ticket. I was like, look, Lord, I've been preparing myself for someone for quite some time. September, October, November, December, 3 months. Yeah, for 3 months. And I was like, I'm gonna find somebody at the singles night. Because it was just like drawn in my heart. And then I actually purchased the VIP ticket because I was just like, the VIP ticket came with like an after party, and you'll like play a game and meet a lot of people, but it was a smaller group of people. So it was 300 women and 300 men. So I was like, I'm gonna find somebody. And y'all, I'm not the type to like put myself out there, but I was like, look, I will do it. I'm gonna, step out of my comfort zone. I'm gonna talk, I'm gonna mingle, I'm gonna do all this. So I ended up buying my my VIP ticket. I was like, Lord, I am ready. Y'all, guess what? Just take a wild guess. So I think it was January 24th, 2025 is when single night was, or maybe January 24th, one of the two. I can't remember. I ended up going, but y'all, I was in a whole relationship by the time I went. And it's so crazy because that's me and his first date. Literally, first date was singles night. I was sitting there with a whole boyfriend next to me. And I was like, whoa, that is so crazy. So I had faith in finding somebody. But he actually came to me on January 15th of 2025. He actually came to me. And I was like, whoa, like that's so crazy. Because I actually threw the towel in. I remember this prayer. I was like, God, I give that aspect of my life to you. I was like, I'm no longer putting myself out there. I'm no longer like, dating, worldly dating. I'm not like, if it doesn't come from you, I don't want it. But I was like, I fully give you full command of that part of my life. And I know like you will orchestrate something like I won't miss it. And that's what God did. God actually tugged on his heart on January 15th. And he was contemplating. He was like, Lord, I don't know. Like, what if she like don't read my message, or like, what if she say no, what if she is not interested, blah, blah, blah. But he kept feeling that tug on his heart. Like, no, you need to hit her up. And at the time, like, I was like, all right, Lord, I'm just gonna seek you again and we'll see what happens. And I was just like focused on my priorities. I was focused on my son, my career, and everyday life. I was just tuned in to like my priorities. And out of the blue, on January 15th, he sent me a message. And it was so crazy. Cause I was just like, what? The whole story is crazy. And in another video, we'll probably do another video of explaining how that unfolded. But that's a whole testimony in itself as well. But yeah, y'all, like it's so crazy. God works in mysterious ways. And I'm telling you, like, if you're going through a rough season and it's like you can't see anything because like everything's like in your face and that's all you see is just chaos and your world is falling apart. Like, I am here to tell you, like, I am literally in my office right now in a brand new house. Like, God can make it happen. If he can make it happen. And I've heard a lot of testimonies, like not even just like a lot of testimony. If you go on YouTube, search up some testimonies, God is doing his thing in everybody's life. So this is the same God that, has done it for me. He can also do it for you. All you need is that little tiny mustard seed of faith, and he will move. And during those rough times, like I said, just keep your head down. It's not gonna last forever. It's just a season, and just trust in him, trust in his promises. But yes, y'all, I hope y'all enjoyed my testimony. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tune in next time. Catch y'all later. Bye.